Hey guys, Harman back for another review. So today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the brand new Ultimate Part 3D Jason figure. Now this is made by NECA Toys, and this is part of their new Ultimate line that features premier like box packaging and basically a little bit of a redo of some of the older figures they've done. The Ultimate line actually does have a few new ones, but this particular one was released a couple times, two different versions, battle damage, non-battle damage. So with this one you get a little bit of a mix-up of both and a bunch of different accessories and things like that. So let's go ahead and start with this awesome packaging. It actually is 3D. If you move it, you can see it's got this really cool effect. It looks like the knife is coming through a shower curtain. And you can see where it says Friday the 13th Part 3D on the bottom. And even the 3D has a little bit of an effect. So really cool packaging. The top of it just has the Friday the 13th Part 3D logo. The bottom has the credits for NECA. And then the side has this really cool picture. Back you can see some different pictures of Jason and just a little you know, quick story about Friday the 13th Part 3. And I really like how they did the back. You can see it's like the inside of the barn. You can see a little hay here, an axe, a couple of different weapons, some rope. So it's really cool. You can see a lot of inspiration here from Part 3. Now when you open this, like all the other Ultimates, you have this nice Velcro here to keep it fastened. You have a you know, little picture of him here. Really cool setup. Looks like he's coming out of a cabin. And then of course you have the figure clearly displayed. This Ultimate, which I'm not sure if all of them will have it, is this little piece of plastic just in case you want to hang it up on the wall. I'm sure they would just hang it in the store, but I really do like that they added that. Alright, so let's get it out of the box and take a closer look. Alright, so here's Jason out of the box. And before we actually get to all those crazy array of weapons, let's go ahead and just take a close-up of the head sculpt. This is really, really good. This is exactly what I was hoping for with this Ultimate Part 3 Jason. Now, I have the originals, and I gotta say, you know, they can give me all the accessories in the world, but the mask is my biggest complaint about the original, and they've definitely nailed it with this Ultimate. Now you can see the eye holes are much bigger if you had the previous figure or if you just seen pictures of it, and it looks a lot more reminiscent of the prototype that they made. Now the original NECA prototype was, you know, it was really good. It looked just like him from the movie, but the actual factory produced, you know, mass-produced one just didn't quite match what NECA had tried to make. So I'm really happy that they did remake this Part 3 figure. Now, besides the actual mask, of course, he has a crazy head sculpt. And this is really good. This is pretty much exactly what he looked like in Part 3. He had this like Quasimodo type of look to him, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and they definitely nailed it here. Now, as far as I can tell, this looks pretty much the same as the original release, but I'm going to do some comparisons a little later, and we can try to see the differences between them, if any. Now, the one thing I will say that's different is the paint. He looks like he has much darker paint in areas. Now the vein here, I don't remember seeing that before. The ear, it's much more, I don't know, they've done something to it to give it more of like a wash to really make it stand out. Done a really good job with this head sculpt. Now the biggest complaint that people are going to have is the bloody neck. And the reason is because this is actually battle damage from when he gets hit with an axe at the end of Part 3. Now you really can't see it too much in this light, but realistically that is battle damage, so you're never really going to have a regular Part 3 Jason out of this Ultimate set, unfortunately. But, you know, you wouldn't have a real battle damage figure out of the set either. They had to go one way or the other, and I guess they just decided to go with the battle damage. You know, if you wanted to, you could try to repaint that neck, But I mean, it's really not that big of a deal to me, especially because I actually opened my original non-bloody Jason. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, if you're trying to go for like a regular Part 3 Jason, you might be slightly disappointed with the fact they have blood on the neck. But overall, I'm really happy with this head sculpt. And then just to show one thing on the mask, before we get too farther, they did also change not just the whole pattern on the mask, but they actually gave it rubber straps as opposed to the plastic straps. So you should have less breakage. But you know, in a way, you still have to be kind of careful about breaking the straps on this. You can see a little bit of like blood stains in the shirt. You can see all these different wrinkles. And one thing I've always liked about this Part 3 one is he has this almost like a hunch in his back, and the detail in this shirt is really, really good. You can see even like the little seams and things like that, the pockets. And then even in the hands, you have this really good detail. You can see like the little like veins and just lines and scars, little wrinkles, just like, I mean, it's very lifelike. And the same goes for the other hand, of course. So yeah, very well painted. I like the fingernails are kind of even cracked. And this is another wound that he suffers. And then you can see some wearing on the pants. And the shoes, there's definitely some wearing too. Just some like little stains, some wrinkles and things like that. You got 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Good wrinkles and everything in the actual clothes. Alright, so the articulation's pretty good on Jason. I'll take this mask off just to give you a better idea of the head. And yeah, he can move his head pretty good all the way around if you want. You can actually look down pretty far, and actually you can look up a little bit too. You can kind of cock his head to the left and to the right. Since he doesn't talk, this is really cool because you can kind of show a little bit of motion just within the pose. His arms go about that far out. And then he does have elbow cut. You can also kind of, you know, articulate a little bit to the left and to the right. He's got wrist articulation, and he can kind of grip or move the wrist up and down a little bit, and not a lot though. And then he's got a twist at the waist, got a little bit of a crunch. You can get his leg out about that far. Knee bend. Get a pretty good amount of leg poses. And then he can move his shoe or ankle to the left and to the right, and then up and down a little bit. The bunch in the jeans kind of restricts it a little bit. So yeah, pretty good articulation for Jason. And then you can still get some pretty good movement with the mask too. Like I said, you can kind of angle his head a little bit to give him a creepy, like a, you know, a little bit more emotion just in the actual pose that you choose. So yeah, pretty good articulation. Alright, so like any Jason figure, you're going to get a pretty good amount of accessories here. First one up is the pipe wrench, which is really cool. Definitely well detailed on here. You see like the little scuffs in the paint. And then he has his spear gun. Now, I like this, the way this is made. It's really not as soft as a plastic as they've used in the past. It's kind of harder, so the actual spear point stays a little bit more, you know, straight. It's not all bent up in the box. And then, of course, his trusty machete. You can see a little like detail in here. Really well painted. Even the blade has this like kind of metallic look to it. And then he has the axe, which he uses a lot in Part 3. Again, really cool detail on the blade. And then you have the poker, which is really cool. Again, you see that same detail in the paintwork. And I actually kind of wish this was like a brighter color, like it looked like it was hot, but it's still really cool. And then the last one is just a small knife. And this is the one that Chris actually stabs in Jason. Alright, and the final accessory Jason comes with is this really cool pitchfork. Now Jason definitely uses this in the barn scene, in the final, I guess like toward the end of the movie. He kills a couple bikers with it. I think he actually might use 2 of these in the movie. But it's a really cool piece. It's definitely very well detailed, and again, just like the axe, he could hold it with 2 hands. But the detail's really good in here. You definitely see like the breakup of the kind of like rusted metal versus the wooden handle. So really cool piece. If you've got the part 2 Jason figure and you want to display him with a new pitchfork, this definitely works perfect. Now Jason only comes with the one hand that can wield all the different weapons, but it does seem to fit with, you know, well with pretty much anything you pick. Here's like the pipe wrench, and you just have to position it just right. And he even holds this poker pretty well. And the spear gun. Here he is holding the knife. And here he is with the machete. And finally, here he is with the axe. Okay, so for the first comparison, here he is next to the original Part 3 Jason. Now this is the non-battle damage. So the biggest difference is definitely the mask. I mean, look how much better this ultimate looks than the regular Part 3 Jason. I mean, it's not even comparison. The holes for the eyes in the mask are just so small. And the emblems are a little big. The mask is, I don't know, a little bit more yellowed. But this is supposed to be like a more fresh mask. But yeah, like just the biggest significant change is the eye holes, and it looks so much better like that. But yeah, even from the side, you could definitely see a tone difference in the mask and the actual skin tone. Now, besides the difference in the actual hockey mask, there's actually a pretty big amount of differences under the hockey mask. And if you take a look at especially the skin tone, it's completely different. This is more of like, I would think this is closer to what he looked like in the movie. This one has more of like a tan. And then as far as the actual sculpt, I mean, if you look at the like the really kind of crazy looking eye, you could definitely see some differences with the paint. Just like I said, they put like a wash on it, so you could kind of see like the little imperfections in his head, eyebrow, and like right on his face here. So they've kind of done a better job of weathering him. And you can see the back of his head. He's got more like dark spots and things like that. So the sculpt is definitely really close, if not, it's pretty much exactly the same, but you're just going to get more of a weathered paint look. You can actually go ahead and take that new mask and then just put it on the old Jason, so it looks way better. And then if you want, you can also change out the mask on other Jasons, like the Part 6. If you want to try out a different mask, it fits on there pretty good. Alright, and here's Jason Part 3 next to some of the other NECA Jasons that have been made. I put them in order, but you could see Part 2, the new Ultimate Part 3, Part 4, the Ultimate Part 6, Jason from Freddyverse Jason, and the new remake Jason. Now, surprisingly enough, none of these Jasons were actually played by Kane Hodder. Kane played in his first one, which was New Blood. That was Part 7. And then Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, and then finally Jason X. Now, he is featured in the new video game coming out, but I mean, it's a video game, it's not an actual movie. NECA has only really made one version of him, which is the New Blood Jason. Now, I don't have this out of the package, I never have, but it did come in an 18-inch format, a statue, a bust, and of course the 7-inch scale figure. Now, I think this figure is just a little bit bigger than some of the other ones. If you put him next to Derek Mears, he's definitely not as tall as Derek Mears. So it's not quite as, you know, right in scale of height, but it's still a really cool figure, and they really should do an ultimate. Alright, so here's a few other Part 3 Jason figures. The first one is the Rebel Tech Part 3 Jason, and you can see I put the Rick from Walking Dead next to him, give you an idea how big that is. It's about the 5-inch scale, so he fits pretty well with Walking Dead. Walking Dead figures might be just a little bit different proportioned, but it's close enough. And then you also have the Mezco Part 3 Jason. Now, I don't have this one opened anymore. I used to. But yeah, this one comes with 2 different head sculpts. Now, the one that's on him actually does have a removable mask, but the other one doesn't. So it's a pretty good figure, but there's really no leg articulation, and the rest of the articulation is kind of like fair. And then you could see him next to the Part 3 Jason original release. Now that's the bloody version, and again you can see a big difference in the mask. And then finally the original Sideshow 12-inch Part 3 Jason. Alright, and here he is next to some of the other NECA horror figures, and Jason just fits in perfect with the collection. Alright, so that's my review. This is an awesome set. Even if you already have the original Part 3 Jason that NECA made, this is still worth getting. Just the head sculpt alone is, in my opinion, worth getting the figure. I mean, it looks so much better than the original attempt, and I'm really happy that NECA actually revisited this. Originally, I was definitely on the fence about this figure. I mean, you already had 2 of them, and the accessories are really cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the accessories with this. But if they didn't nail that mask, I probably would have passed on the set. But just as a real big fan of Friday the 13th and a bigger fan even of NECA toys, I mean, if you're into Friday the 13th, and like I said, even if you already got a couple of these, highly would recommend this one. The packaging's really cool, and it definitely adds a little bit of flair to, pretty cool figure already. But yeah, like the little 3D effect is really neat on the packaging, and I mean, the accessories really do make this well worth it. Now, one thing I'll definitely say, and I've already said it before, but if you have this original Part 3 Jason, I mean, this set, like I said, it's still worth getting just to add a new mask in here. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be displaying this probably ever with that old mask. I mean, this one just looks too good to display it like that. So, I mean, it fits perfect. Like I said, the accessories are really, versatile on all the different Jasons, regardless which one you have. If you're looking for a weapon, maybe if you lost one over time, I mean, you got plenty of accessories here. I mean, the only thing missing out of this set is the Camp Crystal Lake sign, which I really hope they do make one day. So, thanks for watching my review. I'll have a slideshow of pictures after this. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them. Please subscribe. And until next time, guys, see ya.